Prince George may be the eldest child, but I think it's Charlotte who calls the shots and has everyone running rings around her.
On a seemingly ordinary summer afternoon, a 9-year-old girl walked onto a stage and changed the British monarchy forever. That single moment shattered centuries of tradition and left even palace insiders speechless. This isn't a fairy tale. This is the true story of how Princess Charlotte became the most powerful child in Britain, and how her rise to prominence sent shockwaves through the very heart of the royal establishment. Kensington Palace Gardens, July 15, 2025. The morning sun cast long shadows across the manicured lawns where countless royal events had unfolded for generations. But none like what was about to happen. For weeks leading up to this moment, something had been stirring behind the palace walls. Sources close to the royal family whispered of late-night meetings, hushed conversations, and a palpable tension that even the most seasoned royal correspondents couldn't quite explain. The event was meant to honor literary achievements, a routine charitable gathering that would typically warrant a few photographs and perhaps a brief mention in the evening news. Princess Catherine arrived first, her composure immaculate as always, but those who knew her well noticed something different. There was an electricity in her movements, a purpose that suggested this day would be anything but ordinary. Prince William followed, his jaw set with determination. Even young Prince George seemed to carry himself with unusual gravity for a child. But it was Princess Charlotte who captured everyone's attention. Not because of what she did, but because of what she radiated. Confidence beyond her years. Little did the assembled crowd know they were about to witness the beginning of a royal revolution. 3:47 p.m. Prince William stepped to the podium. The usual pleasantries were dispensed with quickly. What came next would be replayed millions of times across social media and analyzed by constitutional experts for months to come. "We are starting a new chapter," William declared, his voice carrying a weight that seemed to press against the very air itself. "My daughter, Princess Charlotte, will begin her official duties as a crown representative." The silence that followed was deafening. Cameras clicked frantically, phones were raised. Even seasoned royal reporters, people who had covered decades of royal events, found themselves scrambling to process what they had just heard. Charlotte herself stepped forward with a poise that defied her age. This wasn't a child being thrust into the spotlight. This was a young person who seemed to understand the magnitude of the moment. Her slight smile suggested she had been preparing for this her entire life. But perhaps the most telling moment came when the cameras panned to the officials from Buckingham Palace. Their expressions ranged from surprise to something approaching shock. This announcement hadn't come from King Charles. It hadn't been cleared through traditional channels. This was Prince William charting a new course for the monarchy, and he was doing it with or without permission. What the public didn't see was the chaos that erupted behind palace doors in the hours and days following William's announcement. Sources who spoke on condition of anonymity painted a picture of a royal household in turmoil. Queen Camilla, according to multiple insiders, was absolutely livid. She had spent years carefully crafting her position within the royal hierarchy, transforming herself from the most controversial woman in Britain to queen consort. Now, suddenly, a 9-year-old was being positioned as a central figure in the monarchy's future. The phone calls began almost immediately. Palace advisors scrambled to understand what this meant for the line of succession, for protocol, for the very structure of constitutional monarchy. But perhaps most telling was what didn't happen. King Charles remained silent. Staff members later revealed that the king, increasingly frail and showing signs of exhaustion from his royal duties, seemed almost relieved. "Let it unfold," he reportedly told advisors who pressed him to intervene. "It has already begun." This wasn't just about Charlotte's new role. This was about a fundamental shift in power, from an aging monarch struggling with his duties to a younger generation ready to reshape the crown for a new era. While the world focused on William's bold declaration and Charlotte's graceful debut, the true architect of this transformation remained characteristically in the background: Princess Catherine. Those closest to the Wales family reveal that Catherine had been orchestrating this moment for months, perhaps even years. Her approach was methodical, patient, and brilliant in its simplicity. She had commissioned private polling to gauge public sentiment about Charlotte taking on a more prominent role. The results were overwhelmingly positive. She had quietly built relationships with Commonwealth leaders, media figures, and even rival factions within the palace itself. Catherine understood something that others didn't, explains a former palace insider. The monarchy's survival didn't depend on maintaining tradition, it depended on evolving with the times while honoring its core values. Her background as a commoner, once seen as a disadvantage, had become her greatest strength. She understood how ordinary people viewed the royal family because she had once been one of them. And she knew that Charlotte, intelligent, compassionate, and naturally charismatic, could bridge the gap between ancient institution and modern relevance. In the weeks following the announcement, Princess Charlotte's transformation from royal child to public figure was nothing short of remarkable. Her first official engagement, a visit to a children's hospital, showcased exactly why her parents had chosen to thrust her into the spotlight. The photographs from that day tell the story better than any words could. Charlotte, dressed in a simple blue dress that deliberately echoed her late grandmother, Princess Diana's style, moved through the hospital wards with a natural grace that stunned even hardened royal photographers. She didn't just shake hands and pose for pictures. She sat with sick children, listened to their stories, and displayed an empathy that seemed far beyond her years. One particularly moving moment captured her comforting a young cancer patient, her small hand resting gently on the child's arm as they talked about their shared love of art. "She has Diana's heart," whispered one hospital staff member, "but Elizabeth's strength." It wasn't just the public who noticed. Foreign dignitaries began specifically requesting meetings with the Wales family. Commonwealth leaders spoke of Charlotte's natural leadership qualities. Even Republican critics admitted that if the monarchy was going to survive, this was exactly the kind of evolution it needed. But revolution, even a peaceful one, never comes without resistance. As Charlotte's star rose, tensions within the royal family reached a breaking point. Queen Camilla, feeling her influence waning, attempted to reassert control through traditional channels. She called emergency meetings with senior advisors, demanding that proper protocol be followed and that Charlotte's role be scaled back to age-appropriate activities. The response was swift and decisive. Many of the advisors she had counted on for support quietly shifted their allegiance to the Wales household. Phone calls that once went to Clarence House were now being directed to Kensington Palace. Foreign ambassadors began requesting audiences with William and Catherine rather than Charles and Camilla. The symbolism was unmistakable. The future of the monarchy was no longer in question. It belonged to William, Catherine, and their children. Even more telling were the public appearances. When Charles and Camilla attended events, crowds were polite but subdued. When the Wales family appeared, the energy was electric. People didn't just respect them, they genuinely loved them. 6 months after that pivotal afternoon at Kensington Palace, the transformation of the British monarchy is undeniable. Princess Charlotte, now a confident and capable young royal, has redefined what it means to be born into the House of Windsor. Her official diary includes visits to schools, hospitals, and charity events, but these aren't ceremonial appearances. Charlotte actively engages with the issues that matter to her generation: climate change, mental health awareness, and educational equality. Prince George, meanwhile, has embraced his future role as king with a maturity that surprises even royal experts. Rather than being overshadowed by his sister's prominence, he has found his own path, focusing on conservation and youth leadership. Together, the Wales children represent something unprecedented in royal history: a younger generation that isn't waiting to inherit the crown but is actively shaping its future. The numbers don't lie. Recent polling shows the Wales family enjoys approval ratings that haven't been seen since the early days of Queen Elizabeth II's reign. More importantly, support for the monarchy among young people, historically the most Republican demographic, has surged by 40% since Charlotte's emergence as a public figure. Social media tells an even more compelling story. Videos of Charlotte's charitable work routinely receive millions of views. Her fashion choices influence trends worldwide. Young people across the Commonwealth speak of her as a role model, someone who represents their values while honoring royal tradition. She makes being royal look normal, says Sarah, a university student from Manchester, like it's about service, not privilege. International reaction has been equally positive. The President of France called Charlotte the future of constitutional monarchy. The Prime Minister of Canada praised her natural diplomacy. Even Republican movements in Australia and Jamaica have acknowledged that the Wales family represents a new kind of royal leadership. As we look to the future, one thing becomes clear. The British monarchy has not just survived its greatest test in generations, it has been reborn. Princess Charlotte, the 9-year-old girl who stepped into history on that summer afternoon, has become the symbol of an institution that refuses to become irrelevant. Her rise represents more than just a change in royal protocol. It represents a fundamental shift in how power, tradition, and service intersect in the modern world. The crown is no longer just surviving, it is thriving, carried forward by a new generation that understands that true royal power comes not from birthright, but from the ability to inspire, to serve, and to evolve. This is the Charlotte Chronicles. This is the story of a revolution that began with a child's smile and changed an empire forever. Don't forget to subscribe for more exclusive royal content and let us know in the comments. Do you think Charlotte's rise represents the future of monarchy, or is this too much responsibility for someone so young? The debate continues.